Thank you for joining us today. My name is Trevor Ginther, and what we're going to cover today is how to adjust both manual and automatic slack adjusters. Okay, so now we're going to talk about brake pots. So what I have here is a Type 30 brake pot. We've got your service brake and your spring brake here. So when I talk about a Type 30, what that means is the diaphragm in here is 30 square inches. Okay, you're going to have Type 20, 24, Type 30, 36. You can have all sorts of types, and that just tells you the configuration inside the pot. So this is a Type 30, and what that means is, again, the diaphragm is 30 square inches. This configuration, your adjustment limit for the brake is 2 inches. So when I'm saying that, your travel should be no more than 2 inches. Okay, in reality, we want you to be around 1.5 inches, somewhere in there, okay? So we'll talk about your service side. So when you apply the foot brake, you're going to get air pressure in here. It's going to work on this side of the diaphragm. It's going to push that way. And the pressure you put on the foot brake is going to be mirrored in here. You're going to apply the foot brake, and then you're going to have brakes starting to come on. So let's say you make a panic stop. There's an accident in front of you or something of that nature. Let's say you make a 100-pound panic stop, air pressure goes in, diaphragm gets hit with 100 psi, brakes come on. So to do the math for the force on that, you go 30 times 100 is 3,000. So what that means is you have 3,000 pounds of force applying your foot brake. So that's a lot of force. Nowadays you can haul a lot heavier loads, just because the braking systems can take that much more force and heat, okay? Also, with the service side, is you're going to have a color on the push rod. Some of them will be red, some will be orange. What that means, if this push rod, if you're starting to see red on the outside of the brake pot, that means your brake is at its max stroke. So that means you're not getting braking force if that's out of the pot. So usually what happens there is brake linings are down, you have something wrong with the interior of the brake or the foundation brake on the truck, or you're just out of adjustment or the slack adjuster has issues. Okay, so now we're going to touch on the spring brake side. So with the spring brake, as you're driving down the road, you're going to have air pressure come in this port here. It's going to work on this side of the diaphragm, compress that spring. You're going down the road, there's no brake application. This is always staying off. If you park, all the air gets exhausted out of this side. This spring was going to expand, and then push rod comes out, holds your brakes are dynamited, you're parked. So what we're going to do a little bit more down the road here is we're going to talk about the spring. So this is a spring I have here. So as you can see, that gets compressed a fair bit. We're going to talk a bit about how to cage a brake. Okay? And this is just a cutaway we have. So this would be like this, sitting inside the pot. Move that out of the way. So you have the diaphragm here, air pressure comes in, you get the diaphragm, pushes on the piston. This is basically the piston. You apply the brakes, that goes out, brakes release, that comes back in. Okay, so that's forced back in. You've got a light spring in here, okay? Alright, so we're going to move on. We'll talk a bit more about brakes in a little bit. So I just wanted to show you a little demo. So this is the spring off park side of your brake pot. So I'm 200 pounds and I can't do anything to that. So I just wanted to demonstrate that just to show you how much force there is. So if you ever see a brake pot that's cracked or eroded in the back end, stay well away. Okay, now we're going to talk about caging a brake. Some of the reasons why you'd want to cage a brake. Let's say your diaphragm ruptures, your brake supply, you want to cage it, or an airline. Let's say an airline ruptures or gets cut. So to cage a brake, you take your caging bolt out, it'll be on the outside of your pot, stick it in the end, and what you're going to do is rotate it. This one you rotate it to the clockwise position, and then you take your nut, you thread it onto the actual bolt itself, you turn it clockwise, and turning it clockwise, you compress the spring brake, then you're free to go to the mechanic shop and get things fixed. what we're going to do now, this is a Type 30 brake pot. I'm just going to talk about how to identify what size of brake pot you have. Okay, so this one's Type 30, easy way. This is the application side, so when you apply your foot brake, this part of the brake will apply. It's a Type 30, so it's a 30 square inch diaphragm within this one. The other way to figure it out would be, sometimes there's going to be a tag right here. That tag's going to tell you if it's a Type 30 long stroke. It'll be 2.5 inches or 3.0 inches depending on the size of the brake pot. Another area to look at is your ports. So with the ports, it's going to tell you the stroke. So this one here is a Type 30-30, 2.5 inches. Another way to tell if it is a long stroke or regular is if you have square ports. So those are the different ways you can tell what style of brake pot it is. So Type 20 brake pot, the adjustment limit is 1 3/4. Type 24 is also 1 3/4. And a Type 30 like this one, the adjustment limit would be 2 inches. So if I have a brake pot, if I'm doing an inspection on a truck roadside, I'm formerly a transport officer, so what I'll use is a brake inspection tool. And what I do is I place it on the service side of the brake on this clamp, and this arm will identify what size chamber it is. So this is a Type 30. So again, I use this if I'm roadside or in the bush inspecting trucks and I can't make out what size of pot it is. So this will let me know what size of pot, and also let me know what the adjustment limit is on it. So this is just a quick reference guide. Okay, so now we're going to talk about slack adjusters. Okay, so we've got a manual, and then I've got 3 automatics. So with the manual slack adjusters cannot be put on a vehicle that was manufactured after May 31st, 1996. Okay, so with the manual slack adjuster, just like it says, it's manual. You have to go underneath the vehicle and set these up. Okay, depends on the terrain you're in, the roads, the hills. You might have to go in there once a day, once a week. So with the manual slack adjuster, the key thing with them is when you're adjusting it, you have to push down the lock sleeve. You adjust it up, let the lock sleeve pop back into place. You got to keep it well greased. Sometimes over time, if you're not keeping it well greased, this can stay in. And if the lock sleeve stays in, the brake can back off. Also with the manual slack adjuster, you might have to adjust it daily depending on the road conditions, weekly. It all depends the road conditions you're in. Okay, so the key thing with any slack adjuster is grease, maintenance, especially the manual, you have to set them up. So we're going to talk more in the video how to set it up actually on a truck. Okay, so now we're going to get into the automatics. So we have one here. For adjustment on this one, you have what's called a pull pawl. So with this has to be popped out about 3/32 of an inch. You can use a screwdriver, or there's a special tool on the market. We can show that later. That gets popped out. There's the adjusting head, the adjusting nut. Okay, so this one's an automatic. Then you have a gunite. This is an automatic also. Okay, with this one to adjust it up, you adjust it up here. This one would be what's called a stroke sensing. So it'll adjust up the brake. The more stroke you have, the more adjustment it'll give you. Okay. And this one here is a Haldex, and this one would be considered a clearance sensing automatic slack adjuster. Again, the adjusting head, grease nipple. So what we'll do when we get in the field is we'll get a little bit more details, how to adjust them up, what to look for, and that's the slack adjusters we'll talk about.